Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
Oh, I just cleaned off my car and it's all like ice. It's like, oh well.
First one, let's see how this winter goes.
Yeah. Well, last year we didn't get anything.
Right.
You know, I think we got one little snow and one little snowfall. That was it. So.
Brian, do you want to wait another minute or so?
Sure, that's fine, whenever you want to start.
Okay. I'm not internet. Crazy. If anybody's wondering, I'm in my painter smock. I can't stand it. Hi, Elizabeth.
How are you?
What are you,
Good.
what are you painting?
Another room.
Oh, I have to do that too.
I hate 12-foot ceilings.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are going to find me hanging off a ladder one day.
I hope not.
Oh, I know it. I know it. Okay, why don't we get started, Brian? My understanding is you're going to give the COVID update. Joe had a conflict, and also some information about the vaccine program.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with the state numbers, and then I will bring up what's happening locally. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
The state numbers we're looking at, there were 18,224 tests yesterday, prior day, and there was 951 of those were positive, which was 5.2%. It's also showing that there was prior day, there were 12 new fatalities in the state, and there are 479 people hospitalized. Last week, the state, the running total was 9% positivity rate. That has dropped slightly down to 7.8%. So numbers going the right way. So comparing that to what we're looking at locally, on Aquidneck Island, there are about 1,300 cases, positive cases. Middletown and Portsmouth are at 345 positive cases, and Newport is 605. Hospitalized in Middletown, 18 people, Newport 36, and Portsmouth has less than 5 people that are hospitalized. If we're looking at the percentage of people that were actually tested for each community on the Aquidneck Island, it's 5%. However, if we're looking at the overall population, Middletown and Portsmouth around 2% of their population, and Newport is 2.5% of the population is positive at this moment. So what are we going to try to do about it? It's we're going to continue to push wear your face masks, social distancing at a minimum of 6 feet, stay within your own households. It's getting to be, I've seen it myself, where Santa Claus is going around and visiting a lot of houses right now. Well, that's introducing or potentially introducing the virus into a household when you've already been in your own little pod and you're kind of letting your guard down because of the holidays. We've already seen after Thanksgiving how the rate increased. We don't want that going into the Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa holidays. That is the basic information I have looking at where we are with the numbers. We've been staying pretty regularly around 2.5% of our population, on around 5% of those that are being tested, and that's across Aquidneck Island. Does anyone have any questions on any of that?
No, thank you.
Okay, so the next thing I'm going to bring up is the medical emergency distribution system, or the meds pods. That is a point of dispensing. Well, that's taking place in the locally and in the state. So what's happening right now is, as we've all heard, is Newport Hospital has had the Pfizer vaccine delivered. There was about 900 and change doses a couple of days ago. So their staff is starting to be starting to receive the vaccine. So what's happening with the rest of the healthcare community, I'm going to call it. The nursing homes in Newport, they're already working out with whether it's Walgreens or CVS. So they'll have their internal people, their own nurses, provide themselves and their residents the vaccine. As we start looking at the first responders, police, critical care workers that the state has outlined or identified, they are making 5 closed regional pods around the state, and we should start being vaccinated or personnel within the next 2 weeks. So it all depends on how rapidly they get the vaccines to the sites, the coordination of the groups. Newport is part of the East Bay regional pod, which is Aquidneck Island, Bristol, Tiverton, Little Compton. So the Chief DeMello, the Bristol Fire Chief, is actually running that pod and going to coordinate the effort there.
Brian, do they know where the pods will be located, or, for
Locally,
residents?
yeah, so what's happening right now is we're trying to identify those places. So in the past, we've used the schools as our locations that we would pass out, distribute the medications. So Pell being the primary location. However, the issue with that is if we are in the schools trying to dispense the medications, we're introducing a lot of the community into an area with children, and we're going to be tying up some of their spaces. Even if they are still out of the schools, if they're distance learning. However, a lot of the places are actually doing combinations until after the new year. I think they're getting back into the schools. But again, we're not looking for the general population, I'll call it, until probably between April and June. It could be even later than that. So some of the things that have come up with the PODS plan is the number of people we can have in a space. So by the governor's orders, we can't have any more than 125 people in one room, basically. And so the physical distance that we have to have within this space is 100 square feet. So if you're looking at the size of a basketball court, you only can have, with the space limitations, you only can have about 50 people, 47 to 50 people on a basketball court. So if you looked at somewhere like Rogers High School that has 2 courts, you could get 100 people in there. Or you could be looking at the Hut. You could do the same thing. But then you have to start to figure out where you're going to put all these cars for people.
Brian, has anybody mentioned the Gateway Center?
Yes, we've actually measured up the Gateway Center. I just had a conversation with Deputy Chief Harp Donnelly. I believe a video was presented to the council or possibly sent out either last night or this morning. That was actually developed by Harp Donnelly, so he could get information out to personnel on my department, then the rest of the community, and then to the counselors, so they have an idea what's taking place.
Thank you.
So over at the Gateway Center, we figure we can get about 100 people. It's 90 people that we can fit into the space at one time. One of the reasons we're looking at the Gateway Center is that it's centrally located. It's on a bus route. We have parking in the garages. And people are familiar with it, with the location. So that is one of the places we're looking at. It's just we have to get signed off by the state that we're potentially using that location.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So some of the things that we also have to look at is depending on whether we're going to Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine. So everyone talks about how cold we have to keep the Pfizer vaccine. So that's why Newport Hospital already has received the Pfizer, because they have that refrigeration. If we had the Moderna vaccine, that can actually be kept in a regular freezer. And then when we need to thaw it out, put it into a refrigerator, it can go into a regular fridge, which is, from 36 to 45 degrees that we can store it in the fridge. These vaccines while frozen, have a 6-month shelf life. Once we start taking them out of the packages, it drops down to 30 days. And once we open up, I'm going to use Moderna. That has a 12-hour room temperature life. So we have to know how many people we're going to vaccinate in any particular day, so that we don't have to throw out any of the vaccine. Right. If we don't have enough people sign up for a particular day, and I'll get to that in a moment, we'd end up throwing it away and it's too valuable to be tossing out. So one of the things that we're doing right now, it's in the process, is working out with the state, is that all the times to get vaccines are actually going to be registered online and going to be scheduled. So we are trying to figure out if we can get 100 people in the gateway, for example. We have to know how many people we can get through in an hour, so we can start working these numbers out. So if we're looking at one person can vaccinate a person every 10 minutes, we'd be able to do one person giving out vaccines, 6 people an hour. So now we're going to have, 5, 8 people to get those numbers, so we can get through that whole 100 people and use the space instead of making people wait for another date or further down the line.
And you
I hope
also
that
have
makes
to keep them afterwards for like 10 minutes, don't you?
Correct. So we actually have to keep them for 15
Okay.
minutes. So we are figuring out all the times, because as we start moving along, we're going to, of course, as we do anything, you get a little better. You start getting a little more efficient as time goes on. So we'll be testing or timing as we're going through this whole process. And we're going to use ourselves as the guinea pigs, so-called, over in the regional pod, so we can get our acts together, make sure we have everything down, and then we'll bring it down to other services, say public services, city hall, employees, staff, until they open it up to the general public, and we should have everything going then.
Okay. Lynn, I believe you have a question.
I do. I have a question about the 2 doses. How is the state going to keep track of somebody, getting ready for a second dose? Is that how are we going to get a little card saying when to come back? And
Yeah, so when you, we're going to be providing a link in the future, and you'll be able to register right online.
okay,
So when you register online, you will show up at the location, and then I'll use Moderna. Moderna is 28 days later. So as soon as you come in, get your shot, you should be it will open up the link to let you schedule your next date.
okay.
Because no one would be able to set up the second shot until they've already had their first.
Yeah.
So that will be part of that process.
I saw on TV that some states are actually doing drive-through vaccinations. Have you seen anything like that? I wondered if
That's-
Rhode Island was considering something like that.
Rhode Island is considering that right now. Most of the southern states are doing that. It's just that if we had something set up for today, it'd be awful difficult. So we are looking at it. It's actually not licensed yet for us to be able to do outside dispensing. And so there is a packet. I actually have it on my desk, looking at how we would set those up going in the future, which is using the gateway would be another of those locations. Because after we gave the shots, we could have people go into the parking garage. There'd be an area that we'd be able to watch them, make sure they're okay for the 15 minutes, and then they could exit outside the other side of the parking lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I don't have anything else, unless someone out in the council or solicitor has anything for us.
I don't believe so at this time. Let's see.
Thanks for doing a great job, Brian.
We will be having some more information coming out soon about our request for volunteers. Because as you can imagine, if we need to look at, say we have 10 vaccinators, we would need to have a bench depth behind each of those. We're looking at 3 people for every vaccinator. So we'd have to have, if we're looking at 10 people, we're looking at 30 people right there. Then we need greeters. We need people to monitor people. So we could be needing, 70 people a day to be working at these pods. So we're going to be requesting volunteers.
And those volunteers would be vaccinated, some of the first vaccinated ones, right?
That's correct.
So that's an incentive.
That's an incentive, yes.
What a logistical nightmare for everything. I mean, distribution and, boy, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, we have a good team working on this. I actually had people from City Hall contacting me today saying they want to volunteer to work, whether it's on the desk, computer entry. I've been in touch with Carmela, that most of us know. She's working with all our volunteers. So yeah, it's a team effort.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sitting in for Joe today.
So yeah, I hope it's the last time I have to do that.
But yeah, it's good information, and hopefully we'll get the vaccine ready and out there, to the general public. You might let Joe know. A number of people want to know, is there a, I know how they've, the one question I had about when you mentioned the assisted living or the care for the elderly, are you saying people will go into those facilities, or will they be bringing?
I believe they're actually doing both. So I know nursing homes are actually working with CVS. So they can either go there, the pharmacy can provide their pharmacist and, staff to help give the shots. But I would assume that a lot of the nurses there would be able to vaccinate each other and the residents.
Okay.
And we're actually working with visiting nurses, which I'm actually sitting with one right now, that's trying to coordinate the effort to bring the vaccine to the households. So they're actually just had a meeting with the state, I think it was yesterday.
Okay.
Did
Thank
you saw
you.
that?
And do you know if there's going to be a meeting next week? Did Joe say anything? I don't.
Mostly for the update?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure there will be, because I believe we're going to have, I should have more information to provide Joe
Right.
on Monday.
Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Brian.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, have a good night.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye-bye.